Hi, Liz.
Hey Fab, how you doing?
Good. I'm really excited because you're just back from Kiama, where you delivered to tourism operators on AI. So I thought we'd do a podcast where you can share the hot topics. And we'll
Amazing.
also be following up from our last podcast where we announced that we would be giving you some tips on how to optimize your website and digital assets for AI. So that's the topic we've got planned for today.
Perfect. Yeah, I had a great time in Kiama. The destination, Sydney Surround South, they did a beautiful job with their symposium for the visitor economy. Very impressive. One of their key focuses was on productivity. So it was really great to be able to do a presentation about AI and how tourism operators, what they can do practically to adapt to the revolution. So we had an hour together. And it was really great because we started by having a look at how consumers are using AI for travel planning. Most recently, we found a statistic that 40% of people globally have used an AI tool to plan travel. So that is massive, isn't it, in terms of the shift and what the impact is on the travel purchase cycle, because all of a sudden bundled into one exercise, say on ChatGPT, a consumer can go in there and do their research, get back an itinerary customized to their needs, get links to be able to move quickly to booking. So all of a sudden the typical early stages of that planning process of being inspired and getting the detail and moving off to booking, it's all consolidated into one exercise. Whereas for the last 15, 20 years, we've been going, now the consumer visits an average of 30 websites to make their decision about what they're going to do and where they're going to go. So it's just consolidated that effort. So you can see why people are turning to tools like AI search, tools like ChatGPT and Gemini, etc. And Gemini's right in your face, as you know, when you go onto Google anyway, with at the top of the screen, bringing back those sort of, convenient, consolidated results.
And I found myself, actually, I was talking about this in a tourism tech session that we ran this morning for our members. And I found myself actually going to Google and talking to it like I would be talking to a chatbot engine, but that was Google. And I realized that, yes, it's really good with the listing, the AI summary at the top, but it's not quite there yet. When you talk to it in a big, long sentence, it struggles. But I've got a feeling that this is what people are starting to do. They'll just be going to search engines and talking to it and expecting it to respond like a bot.
And doesn't that make complete sense? Because I remember last year we were getting our heads around the importance of voice search and how you needed to write in natural language or your product descriptions, content on your website, so that it more easily responds to voice search. And so, it's all just coming together, though it's very hazy about exactly where it's going to land in terms of what the travel market is going to look like and how people purchase. But the important message, I think, is we've just got to be really agile and curious and keep trying things and adapting as businesses.
And see what comes out. That's the best way, right? Plan travel, and at least it's something everyone loves to do. So every operator will love to try and plan their new trip and then realize, oh, this is how it works. I need to do the same. We can't just sit and do nothing or be slow. We've got to try and move. Definitely not as fast as AI, but at least move in a forward direction.
Yeah, totally. So one of the things that we researched in the team before I went to that conference was about how to optimize your website for AI searches. And Fab, I know you were separately researching about the different AI search platforms and the traditional search backends that they use. Maybe you could just talk a little bit about that before I share the tips on how to optimize your website.
Yeah, it's interesting. So it all started by, any operator would have looked at their analytics recently and seen some visits from ChatGPT. So I started gigging and like, wow, this is a new source of visits. It's not just organic, it's not Google, but it's ChatGPT. And I went, wow, what tool does ChatGPT use to actually find that information? And obviously, it uses whatever's been loaded and is continuously loaded in its memory, but then it searches for information online. And what ChatGPT told me the tool of choice was Bing in that instance. So ChatGPT still has the biggest market share, but in the AI chatbots, but suddenly the biggest market share of the chatbots is suddenly not Google, it's Bing, which is the one we never really bothered with because everything was Google. So it was a timely reminder for tourism operators that want to improve their rankings in ChatGPT to actually go and look at their Bing places for business. And that is the equivalent of your Google business profile. So it won't hurt. Just go and have a look, see if you can optimize. There would have been surely new tick boxes, the check boxes that you can tick since you last logged in. It will be worth it. And what I've noticed as well is in ChatGPT, you actually get the links. This is how people can click to your website. In Gemini, you don't get the links yet. Possibly it could be, I'm not a very great user of Gemini, but I don't see links in the Gemini tool, in the chat tool itself. So there will be links in Google, but how do you know if these links to your website are coming from the search engine rankings or from the Gemini assistant at the very top? So if you get a lot of organic traffic, you won't quite know at the moment if it's coming from the top search of Google or from within the listings at the very, I guess, below the AI search in Google. Haven't figured that one out yet. But maybe suddenly if you get a huge growth in organic traffic, it could be a good sign that you've been picked up by Google's AI assistant in the search engine results list.
So we need to be covering both bases. We need to make sure that we're well optimized for search engine optimization as we know it, but also for AI search and what it's looking for. And I love that tip on go and check out your listing in Bing places and make sure that it is optimized, because that could be a missed opportunity otherwise.
Rekindle the Bing romance.
If you ever had it.
If you ever had it, find your login, your password, put it in your password manager, and have a quick look.
Bing, the late bloomer of search engines. Love it. So maybe if I just step through, I've got 6 categories of optimization for operators for their websites to be favored by, to be prioritized by AI search bots or chatbots like ChatGPT and Gemini. The first one is about human-centric content. So if you think of all of the questions that your customers need the answers to, like the what, the where, the when, how much, how to book, really clearly answer all of those questions that a visitor might have. You need to write in natural conversational language. That's more important than ever because of voice search and just that semantic search. Just make it really, really easy. Don't try to do anything too fancy or sophisticated with your language. Be really conversational. And AI search prioritizes experience over keywords. And this is I think the tourism industry is so well positioned for this, because in the vast majority, they live and work in the destinations that they have their businesses in and the experiences that they offer. So they can really talk to the experience of that destination. And they are experiential by nature, tourism businesses. So they've got amazing opportunity to talk about the actual experience that they offer and customer experience behind the scenes in their business, all of that. The second category is a really clear, unique selling proposition. And this is because the AI searchers, they want help with distinguishing your business from another one. So they need you to be specific. What makes you special, different? What is the local nature of your business and your market? who personally runs the business. And so tell that story of what it is that you do differently, and also dive into the things that really position your business that the customer cares about, like your values. They could be really strong on ecotourism, really strong on accessibility or catering for certain markets' needs, what your passions are, etc. So tell that behind the scenes story about your business. A bit like what our Magic Story Builder does, Fab, in terms of being able to generate that really brilliant about page for the business. The third category is about structure, and I know this is one of your passions, is structured pages on your website. So anyone who's familiar with maintaining their own website and doing it properly will be familiar with features in the editor of their website, the page builder, like the heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. So making use of those. Frequently asked questions, and not just 10 or 20, all of them.
On each page that's relevant to each product.
Correct. AI search engines are eating these up like a big hungry beast. They're coming in looking for frequently asked questions. It's this level of detail that they need, that they want to be able to prioritize a response that includes your business. So it's really important. And you will use that. That's going to be a digital asset in your business going forward. But when you implement that really intelligent chatbot, that's going to be the knowledge base that it uses.
And it's also on your, when we work with our partner Magpie, when you actually upload your FAQs to Magpie, you can push them to all the OTAs. So it's not just your website that uses the question, the FAQs, it's also the OTAs. And the more people talk about you in a very rich and deep content depth fashion, the more you're strengthening the signal to the AI bots that there's a lot of information about you, and then that information is correlated by other platforms. So it's really important that you don't just focus on your website anymore, especially for these FAQs. You think website single source of truth still to this day, but leverage, you're doing all this hard work for your FAQs. So where else? What other platforms are using FAQs? What other platforms are using reviews? What other platforms ask you for your USP?
Love it. And the third point in this area is use bullet points, summary boxes, label sections for location, inclusions, pricing. All of that labeling and putting things into sections is going to help with AI discovery.
Structured data, even though it might speak to you in a natural language, it heavily relies on structure in the back end.
Love it. The fourth category is multimodal. So besides text, great images, video. Now, whilst certain chatbots can't yet read images, we know Google's been working on that for decades, is reading images. So Gemini's probably got the lead on that.
They do say that it is born with that multimodal aspect, Gemini, as opposed to the other engines that were added later. But I'm still having issues, Liz. This morning we were talking about how Gemini is fantastic at removing watermark of images, and I read on Instagram, then I tested it, and it absolutely did not work. So I don't know if it's me, the prompt, or someone on Instagram promoting something that wasn't quite true, but apparently it's going in that direction. But it was so funny. Like, I said, remove the Nemo from this logo. It gave me a brand new logo with every other fish you can think of.
It is so not flawless. There are so many gaps still, but we're seeing it improve all the time. But on the images, make sure that you are applying your alt text to the images, descriptive captions, descriptive file names, embedding videos with transcripts. So like you said, Fab, it's about this putting the data, giving it data to be able to work with. And also, of course, this is fantastic for accessibility as well. These are all of the things that are recommended to make your content on your website more accessible also. The fifth category is fresh and localized content. So updated content, nice and fresh, keep feeding the beast with fresh content, consistency across the content. For example, your Google business profile, your Australian Tourism Data Warehouse listing, your social media, your Bing business listing, it should all be aligned. And that sounds like typical SEO good behavior, but the AI search is needed as well. Localized content. So event pages, blog posts with great local content on it, and not just listing all of the golf courses in the area or all of the boat ramps. Give some detail on it. And I know it takes time to build this, but the thing is that you've got great tools to help the writing of content, but of course you need to then personalize it and get it into your voice. Seasonal offers, another perfect example of great, fresh, localized content. And being very place specific, that's another way of being localized. So when you describe, say, your cruise, you know, where is that cruise? Rather than calling it the cruise, it's the Jarvis Bay Dolphin Cruise. Like getting that place name in is another tip. And then lastly, and you started to talk about this just before, is the trust signals. So it's looking for trust signals. It's looking for advocacy of your content. So this is reviews, like they are going to be even more important than they ever were. If you think about it, in an absolute ocean of automated AI generated content, the consumer voice is going to be even more important than it's ever been. So include real reviews and testimonials, awards, credentials that you have for your business, like accreditations. Have a really clear about page with your story and contact details. So just make that super easy to get to. We haven't thought really about having contact details on an about page, but if that's the page that AI is pulling from because it's really got your story in it, pop it on there as well. And always add authorship. Who's the author of those blog posts? And even team bios. So if you've got some great tour guides or head chefs, or, you know, who's your receptionist, bring them to the forefront, you know, because that's all real content about real locals living in the area. You had a great tip the other day, Fab, when we were talking about this, which was go through your blog posts, go and update them, make them more localized, add the author, update the date. Like there's an immediate...
And here's a story for you, Liz. So some of our listeners may know about Local Adventures, which is a new venture that Tourism Tribe has started. We won't say too much more about it just yet. But anyway, I optimized our site for things to do for families in Agnes Water, right? Because we'll start Local Adventures in Agnes Water. Now, I was using Google's AI assistant this morning. The first blog post that came up at the top of the results of the AI results was my little blog post that is barely 3 months old. There is so much competition about things to do for kids in Agnes Water. However, ours came up first. So it doesn't have any juice from other websites because it's a brand new website. Yet it's a very new, fresh content that is relevant, and I've got a feeling that's one of the reasons why it got prioritized. So huge, you know, opportunity for you. I know we've been banging on about this forever, you know, with fresh content, but it seems that now all this AI things that beautifully digests and information spits it back to us just heavily relies even more on all the signals that people needed for their website for search engines. So have a really keep pushing that SEO optimization. I think at this day and age, it still heavily relies on that. All these important factors, all these snippets, even though you're H1, H2, H3, you know, when I started in this role in SEO, that was really important. But over the last few years, it's diminished. And yet now when you ask ChatGPT and Gemini what it uses, especially for one of the example we're talking about yesterday, Liz, one of the attraction being closed in the region, but it's still telling us to go there. When I asked why, it said because it's not in your heading 1 and in your page title that it's closed. So I've gone back full circle. It's not just about all the content, it's about the structure of the content. So get a little bit of that tech understanding, and many operators have got a fantastic understanding of that now. I think in our industry, much more than other industries. So it's going to be a quick win to get ahead.
Absolutely. So I reckon that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Yeah. Source of Truth, your website, it's the best vessel presently to win with the AI adoption battle, and don't see it as a war. It's not. Just take, do a little bit each day and plan to have the best possible content you can have that's really meets your customer needs, is conversational, is well structured, is very local, tells your story, very fresh, and include those online reviews and testimonials and lots of FAQs. And I think you're going to be a long way ahead.
And if you feel you're left alone trying to do all this, join our tribe on Tourism Tribe. We have got heaps of resources and heaps of things set up to help you feel connected with other operators and learn from them and from us.
Perfect.
All right. Bye,
See
everybody.
you soon. Bye.
Bye.